those guys are really getting some bad, complicated black lung, which is, a terminal condition that 4 or 5 years is probably your life expectancy with that kind of diagnosis.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
We do have Jack Jacobs in the Zoom now. Jack Jacobs is an attorney at law at Maples, Tucker, and Jacobs. They are a union and worker side labor law firm here in the state of Alabama. Jack, welcome to the program. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Good morning, guys. It's good to be here.
It's great to have you. Obviously, been talking to you off the air for a long time. I think that you and the Iron Workers, Local 477, are the only advertisers that we've had on the program that have been with us since the beginning and have and there hasn't been any drop off or drop on, so you and the Iron Workers really keeping us going. So we really appreciate that. Awesome. And we appreciate the work that you do, outside of giving us money. So can you just let the audience know, like, generally, what are the kind of cases that you and your law firm work on?
I would say a lot of work that we do is with coal miners here in Alabama, just those guys and women when they get hurt. A lot of what we call federal black lung cases as well, which is a federal workers' compensation program. And we do some railroad cases as well. So the guys that work with SMART or the other railroad affiliated unions, whether those are Carmen or what have you. So it's a lot of that is our primary practice, but we also represent a lot of steel workers out at U.S. Steel here in Birmingham. So.
And, I've talked to a bunch of different labor lawyers and like, generally speaking, you're still an attorney. You make, like, I'm assuming, reasonable amounts of money, but I have never met a labor attorney that couldn't, like, almost double their income by going into a management side law firm. And particularly, when there's like a premium placed on, conversion, so to speak, right? I mean, being able to know kind of what the other side thinks. So, just generally speaking, you're going to make more money if you go work for the bad guys. But especially if you have previously worked for the good guys. And so, like, why is it that you do the work that you do, trying to help, coal miners get their black lung benefits and things like that, instead of going and working for a management side law firm?
Oh, I just could never imagine doing that kind of work personally. I mean, that's not how mama raised me, I guess, to put it bluntly. But, right. My parents weren't rich lawyers. They were working class folks. My mom worked for the Treasury Employees Union here in Birmingham with the IRS. And my dad, was working for AT&T. For a number of years, but kind of, he got laid off like AT&T does every so often and kind of bounced around jobs. And so he was never really, stable, but just, trying to make a living and take care of his family. So, I appreciate those kind of things because it's hard out there. A lot of these jobs, there are a lot of risk, and just really trying to do what we can to, represent our clients. Sometimes we have to, take on things that may or may not be profitable for us, but we just feel like it's the right thing to do. A lot of the black lung cases we work on, they might, typically will drag on 3 or 4 years before we get paid on anything. So it's kind of, to be in the position of having to front costs and expenses and experts and then wait 4 years to get paid back is kind of maybe not the best business model out there, but we think it's an important one.
What is the state of, black lung protections and stuff like that? I didn't prep you for this, so if you're not ready for this, you can just let me know. But I'm curious about the state of the laws and regulations around black lung. Like what does it take to actually get a black lung benefit, payout for somebody who's been affected by this workplace illness? I've been reading recently about Jim Folsom, and there was some really exciting things happened under Jim Folsom with the help of the United Mine Workers of America, including, at least according to one historian, one of the most progressive workers' comp benefits for black lung in the country. And so, has that been kind of degraded over the years? It's just speaking in like nationally and in the state of Alabama. I'm curious about kind of what the state of things are.
Yeah, I think there used to be an Alabama specifically had a black lung program. It's now really just encompassed more in their general workers' comp. But typically what we see is a lot of the miners who would qualify or have a severe impairment really don't develop that until they've been out of the mines for a number of years. So they might be out 10 years, and then start developing breathing problems or severe breathing problems at least. So that the state benefits are somewhat limited in that regard. I mean, we do occasionally see guys, and I will say typically it's miners who have worked in Kentucky or West Virginia, where the conditions are worse and they're breathing a lot more silica than they do here.
Right.
And those guys are really getting some bad, what we call complicated black lung, which is, a terminal condition that's probably going to, 4 or 5 years is probably your life expectancy with that kind of diagnosis. And unfortunately, we don't see that a lot in Alabama so much as they do in other parts of the country.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
What do you credit that to? I've read about that as well. Kim Kelly, I'm sure has done some really good reporting about the rise of black lung, and it's been mostly contained to like to West Virginia and Kentucky. Like Alabama has not seen the rise in black lung cases, at least in my understanding, as they have in other parts of the country. And there have been some different theories as to why that might be. One is that the silica dust is this thing this material that is more prevalent the kind of thinner the coal seams get. I think that's what it's called. And so the seams in West Virginia and Kentucky, my understanding is that they have been dug out more thoroughly than in Alabama. So that may be one reason, is that you're just getting into more places with silica dust in West Virginia and Kentucky. But another reason, and I'm curious what your thoughts are about this, is that Alabama's coal mines are still highly unionized, which is not the case anymore in West Virginia and Kentucky. West Virginia and Kentucky's coal miners are largely non-union, and so they don't have the same protections as they do in Alabama. What do you make of the increased prevalence in black lung in West Virginia and Kentucky and not in Alabama?
I do think the unionization does play a part in it. Obviously, if you're a worker and the company is not maintaining adequate water sprays on the equipment, you can complain about it and not have to worry about getting retaliated against as much if you're in the union. They just can't fire you without cause. And not go through a process here. But I think, the larger problem, I believe, is just the mining itself. Is you're cutting as those places have mined out the easier coal to get to. Basically, they're having to cut a lot more rock, a lot more quartz specifically, and so we don't have as much quartz here as more limestone, so we're not getting, and it's just kind of the luck of geology that we're not having those issues in Alabama.
Right.
But my understanding, as mining equipment has gotten more efficient in the sense that they can clean it better and they can mine more coal that they couldn't have mined efficiently, 30, 40 years ago, those seams that were not have been mined back then are mined now. And so you're getting a lot more of this rock and quartz silica dust in the air, which is, 20 times worse for you than coal dust.
So as we're wrapping up, I wanted you to walk us through this case that you have. You are representing some of the security guards at Warrior Met Coal who were employed by Warrior Met throughout the strike. And so so some people might hear that and say, well, why are you representing these folks? They're working for the company even while there was a strike. But ultimately, the idea is that, well, we're wanting to punish the company, because the company was even screwing over these security guards as they were employing the security guards to try to help them break the strike. Walk us through the details of this case and why you decided to take it on.
Well, I mean, honestly, it was actually a referral from the union. They had reached out to the mine workers. One of the guys had and said, "Hey, look, they're not paying us like they should. Who do y'all use to handle these kind of cases?" And they kind of sent them our way. Well, all right. Well, if you're okay with it, we're okay with it. But yeah, I mean, you just have one set of working class guys who are being pitted against another set of working class guys. I mean, honestly, and that's really how this kind of played out. These security guards, and it's interesting. It's kind of a small world of guards that do this type of work, and it's not just strikes. It's also FEMA events, like where they have a hurricane come in and they need security to provide, just basic stuff to prevent looting and that kind of thing. So, but they come in and do this work, and they're getting paid a day rate of $350 a day, working 14-hour shifts effectively. As quote unquote contract labor, which you can't do. And so it was just, and some of these guys are working, 4 weeks on, maybe a week or two off, and then come back and go back and forth. And so there's a lot of, overtime, hourly wages that are owed to these guys and women, a few women too, that just, weren't being paid. And these contractors try to get up on the cheap by just, hey, there's not much going on right now. Come work here for this daily rate and just suck it up and deal with it. And they said, no, we're not going to do that. So good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you are the basic gist of it is that they didn't pay, the company didn't pay overtime, and so that's what you're asking for. Do you have like an estimate of how much you think that you're going to be able to get out of Warrior Met for this case?
Well, I don't know specifically out of Warrior Met, just there's some contractual provisions between the people involved. I mean, Warrior Met was not directly hiring the contractors, so there are security companies involved, and so it's at a certain level, it's not my problem. It's just my job is to get money for the guys that are working, and however it gets divided up between Allied Security, RMS, and Warrior Met is kind of at the end of the day, they got to figure that out. So, but it's a considerable amount of money, considering if you're only getting paid this rate, and it's a little complicated, but if you're scheduled to work 12, you end up working 14, 15 hours a day. So there's hours you aren't paid for. There's overtime you're not being paid for. It's it can be probably a couple $1,000s a week that these guys are getting shorted, depending on what their schedule was. So when you've got 25, 30 guards out there a week, it starts adding up pretty quick when the strike went on for 2 years.
Right. So. Right. All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. Definitely let us know when it wraps up, and keep up the good work, Jack. Really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you guys, and thanks for all y'all do for fighting for working folks. It's beautiful to see. So,
absolutely.
Thanks.
Well, appreciate it. Jack Jacobs, attorney at law, Maples, Tucker and Jacobs, LLC. You can find him online. If you need somebody to fight for you, get in touch with them.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.